Alright folks, here is my review of the Timber Tuff lumber cutting guide. I'm going to give it a try for the first time and just share with you how it goes. This is a unit that I purchased off of Amazon. Gave about 22 bucks for it. Pretty much consists of just this little guide mechanism. I've already assembled part of it. You can see there's a little secondary guide right there that had to be installed, but we can get into more detail. But I'm gonna put me a guide on this and see how it goes. First thing that I realized you have to do is you have to knock off all the high spots on your log, which I've already done one there, but as you can see there's another one here, so I'll be knocking it off. Once I get those high sides knocked off, I will screw down the guide bar. It's a 2x4 is what I'm using. I thought I could use a 2x6, but it doesn't seem to fit in between that rail there, so I suppose it's made for a 2x4. So we're going to just kind of go step by step, see how it goes. One of the things you might see I did is, other than knocking off the high spots that were here and here, I went ahead and just kind of smoothed out the top kind of the best I could. I figured it looked like it had a few high spots. There's one I missed right there, but I'll hit that again. But just kind of try to knock off the high spots a little bit and try to get the best mount for my 2x4. All right, I've got my guide bar just laying on top of the log for now. And what I was thinking was trying to get it positioned. I would just try to get it, you know, kind of as evenly spaced as you can. It looks roughly 2 inches. I'm not really going for a specific thickness of wood right now. I'm really just kind of doing my first test run. But I'd try to get your guide bar set about the same distance. This looks like it might need to go over just a little bit, because once we get it set, then of course we're going to screw it down. I think that's pretty close, maybe a hair more. All right, let's see here. Yeah, just kind of try to get just kind of eyeball it more than anything, I guess. All right, I think that's where I'm going to screw it down at. All right, I've got it screwed down. I put 3 screws in it, one there, second one there. You can see I countersunk it so that the guide will slide over it smoothly. I put the third one here. This is like a 6-foot log, so I put 3 in it. They're about 32-inch centers. I'm not exactly sure how many you should put, but that feels fairly rigid. We're going to give it a try though. Now what I'm doing here is I'm setting this guide rod. As I showed you earlier, I've already installed, you had to bolt this little, it's really just an angle back in here with these 2 bolts right here. I've got it in place and it's set up for like a 2x4, but you can see it's got a little slack. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it and just kind of snug it up to that 2x4, and then you tighten these 2 screws down right here to kind of get it snug. And I guess you want it to be able to float, you know, fairly comfortably. Let's see how this is going to work out. I was too lazy to go get my tripod and set up for my camera, so I'm trying to do this one hand. Get it fairly snug, and I'd go ahead and give it a little run, kind of maybe if you need to clean it. That's a little loose. I think I'm gonna tighten that up, but at least it travels. So I'm gonna snug that back up and then put the saw on it. Okay, I've got my guide bar adjusted. Seems to move pretty smoothly without a lot of slop back and forth the full length. So that being done, I believe we'll go ahead and attach the chainsaw to it and try to make us a cut. One thing that dawned on me is when I started mounting this mount, of course you want enough clearance that your blade can travel through here without hitting anything. But I'm trying to get this distance correct for whatever you're cutting, so it kind of made sense to me. When the guide is in this down position, I could measure and say, all right, I've got like 10¼ inch depth. So I went ahead and just checked out my log here, thickness of my log, and you can see I'm at like 9½. So you can kind of check your log with your guide and set your blade accordingly for a depth just long enough to get through there. Well, I just finished my first cut. I wasn't really able to show the cutting experience as I was doing it. Next time if I do another one, I'll set up a tripod, but I did get, looks like a really nice smooth cut. Now this is an old piece of wood that I just had back here I've been planning on using just to try this out, but I've got a nice little flat. It did pretty well, actually. I will say again that when you're cutting with this thing, like I mentioned earlier, patience, because you're trying to pull that through there and you're trying to keep it flat so that you get a nice 90-degree cut, and you have a tendency to want to, you know, get in a hurry and pull it down. That's when it gets dangerous, or you just end up at least a bad cut. But just being patient. One thing I did notice here at the end, I should have had this guide extend off another foot or so, because when I got to the end I kind of had to do a little trick. Actually, you can see where I cut down into my stationary block I had here, because I had to flip the saw back around to make the last cut on the end, but it worked out pretty good. I think I'm gonna set it up and try to cut one more, maybe try to cut me like a 1x out of it, something I can use. I've got a chicken coop with some chickens who done some remodeling on, so probably can make use of a piece of wood for that. There's the chickens, if they're not too shy. Chick. All right, let's see. One thing I thought about moving my guide to make another cut, try to get me like a 1 inch, a little 1x off of here. I thought I might as well go ahead and take a pencil and mark where my guide's at now. And then that way, I've got a mark that I can actually set my guide. I know that looks roughly 3/4 inch, something like that, off from the actual cut surface. Yeah, 3/4, right on the money. So I can use that as a reference, and I could chalk line like another 1 inch mark, set my guide, and then end up with a 1 inch 1x. We'll see how that works. All right, I just finished my second cut, so I should have a nice 90 on that. I will emphasize again, being patient. Just let the saw cut, because it started dragging a little bit. I think I kind of got to this knot right here. It starts slowing down a little bit, maybe some harder wood or something. But let me pull the guide off and let's see what our 90 looks like. We'll kind of from the end and see if we got a fairly decent 90-degree cut. Okay, we got the moment of truth here. I had to pull this out in the yard a little bit. It's starting to get dark on me out here, so you have a little better lighting. But I've got just my basic framing square I thought I'd use for trying to check out the squares. So say the moment of truth. And I'll tell you what, that looks pretty doggone good. Looks like we cut a pretty decent 90 on that. Let's check it further on down. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I mean, that looks really good. See if I can get both sides for it. Yeah, that is a good tight. Man, that's pretty unbelievable. A little $22 if you wanted to cut like you some posts, some square posts, which I've already just got this one cut on 2 sides for now. But it works pretty good. Pretty impressed. I think I'm just let's take another look at it. Here it is, the the lumber cutting guide, Timber Tuff. This is not sponsored, by the way. I just bought it at Home Depot. But I've been watching all these guys with these portable sawmills, and boy, I was just so envious. And not really set up with either land or a situation right now for that. That's something hope to come in the future, but just having something to slice out some 1-bys or 2-bys or whatever for me and my chickens, whatever our needs are. So hey, pretty good. Give her a try.